What if everything in FNAF was just a dream?
I don't know. I don't know. I hope it's not just all a dream, because I don't know how I feel about that. Alright, boys, today we're here to watch more Game Theory. I'm excited. I haven't watched FNAF 4 Game Theory in a long time. This is where I originally found MatPat years ago. I remember nothing throughout these things. I just know that the Bite of 87 was not into FNAF 4, right? Now, listen, I just got off of playing FNAF 4 the whole game besides 2020 mode, because I don't know if I want to touch that. Now, I said this in the video. I don't know how many people actually got to the end, but if you guys want to see me play 2020 mode, show this video some love, give me some comments saying you want to see that shit, and I'll take the time out of my day to go and try to beat that. But FNAF 4 is like the scariest game I've ever played. I'm on like kind of a high right now that I beat it, and I'm like super excited. So I don't know what the hell the box means and stuff like that. That's the only part I'm lost. I don't know if that's ever been solved, but I don't know what the fuck that box is. I tried to make my own theories, but I don't think it's going to touch anything that Game Theory is going to have on this. So I think he has like 3 parts on this. We're going to watch all 3 of them in this video. And yeah, I need him to break this down for me. Like usual, because it's too hard to try to focus on the theories of what's going on while all of the terror is going on at the same time, especially how scared I've been of that game over the last years. And like that game came out in middle school. I've been so scared ever since. I played it once back then and just never barely really touched it since then. His video and channel's in the description. Let's do it.
Scott, I swear you are the biggest internet troll out there. Oh, it's being released October 31st. Yep. Okay, let me plan my entire skit.
That was really funny. I remember when he did this a lot back then. I don't know if he does it that often anymore, but like back then he used to just do like surprise releases. Everyone like, oh shit, okay, we gotta go do it now. We just release it months beforehand. But I think he just said, why not? If you have it, just do it. Fuck it, why not? Which is kind of a cool approach. It's surprise approach because it keeps everyone off guard. It keeps anyone from giving all the theories right away or trying to speculate right away. Just put it out there and it catches everyone off guard and they have to see for themselves. I think it's pretty cool.
Schedule around that.
It's pretty smart.
Never mind, it's now in August.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Let me rework everything.
Now it's in July.
Lols. Here's the full version now.
Yep.
You, Scott Cawthon, are the reason I have an emotional dependence on Diet Coke. But today I'll be
because I remember VidCon was happening at this time, and then they just dropped. That's the only reason I remember is because I remember VidCon happened, then this dropped, and I was like, oh my god, shit, I'm gonna have to get back. Dude, YouTube back here was such a crazy time. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The golden years for me, personally, that feels like for YouTube, was like 2015, 2016. That was like my favorite years of YouTube. But then like after that, it just kind of went a whole different direction. But this is such a cool time then. That's why it's really nostalgic to watch this now, because that was like during my middle school days. And it gets me excited to watch this again because it brings me back there to that time.
Token sweet, sweet victory. Because guess what? I win! Scott, in your rush to get the game out, to get out ahead of my theories and completely flim-flam the internet and shock everyone by releasing the game 3 months early, you missed a huge detail. Maybe before releasing the game, you should have spent a bit more time researching, because this game, as you've presented it, is impossible. Let me explain. Basically, it's all but confirmed at this point that in FNAF 4
this one's called FNAF 4 got it all wrong.
The victim of the Bite of 87, and that this game is either his...
I know there was like a thing where, I know I'm pausing a lot, but I know there's a thing where I guess he kind of left some 4 story elements. It came from Scott Cawthon himself, so I say this. I saw an interview with him and Dwanko, I think that's his name. I can never say his name. He was talking about there was a lot of story things that were not fully finished, and I think he figures that he does like the rest of the story in the next game or whatever. So not the next game, but FNAF 6. I think that's where he like describes more of the story. So
nightmare, or what he's seeing in a coma as he recovers from his injuries. Let me run you through the evidence real quick so that we're all on the same page. First, in the months leading up to the release of the game, there were clues hidden in the source code for some of the teasers on Scott's website, with the numbers 8787 repeated over and over again. 2 numbers that anyone who hasn't been living under a rock will recognize as a key date in the franchise's lore, the Bite of 87. This is further supported by the text on the teaser images. All of the pictures released on the site basically ask the same question: was it me? Which seems to refer to the actual attacker of the Bite itself.
That's a good way of fucking people.
There was one more word we saw repeated throughout the teasers: nightmare. Hidden over top of multiple teaser images was that exact word. That, combined with the Freddy Krueger-ish design of the...
Man, I wonder how long it took him to do all this. I imagine he had to do like binge sessions of doing this, right? Like Scott Cawthon doing that, because god damn, that like even having that secret thing behind it, and he did these games in such a short amount of time.
Animatronics with teeth and claws everywhere, something far different from how we've seen these things designed in the past, seem to indicate that this would be the way a child would imagine these creatures if he had had a traumatic experience with them, making it seem like what we would be playing
that's what I kind of
would be
figured.
a dream. Couple that with some evidence from the trailer. The first words are, "What is it you think you see?" making us question the reality of the images in the game. But there was also something that everyone seemed to overlook about this trailer: the appearance of the number 4. Scott doesn't do things randomly, as I'm sure we're all aware by now. And notice the movement of the 4. It starts off in a horizontal plane, like it was laying down on something, say a bed, but then wakes up to stand vertically before the trailer ends. Even that remnant red rectangle is meant to symbolize the bed. Everything seems to be letting us know that what we're seeing isn't really real, it's a dream, or better yet, a nightmare. Now, fast forward to the game's release, or I suppose casually meander to the game's release since it wasn't too long afterwards, and we see that this theory still holds. Flowers, an IV, and pills.
You know, okay, so the IV was actually there. I saw the flowers. I just thought they were there the whole time. I thought I saw something in that corner. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to know if I was like crazy or not. I haven't edited the video yet either. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I was seeing things. I was like, am I just seeing like a hair or something like that? Or am I seeing some shit in the background that's not actually there? Like, I didn't know if I was insane. Well, you think he's insane? I'm probably more insane then.
Up next to your bed, classical medical supplies that show us that this is a child in recovery. Foxy,
which that makes sense because I couldn't figure out if this was before that like mini game stuff like that or after. So that makes more sense. It was after being a child. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Hiding in a closet will transform back to a plush toy if you hold the door closed on him long enough, making it seem like this was all a dream or hallucination. And of course, the biggest piece of evidence of all, the cutscene that ends night 5, which, if you don't want a spoiler, click here to skip. All of you skipped now? Good. Actually,
I can't. It's hard for me to take that scene seriously sometimes because of that fucking meme of Markiplier going like, "Was that the bite of 87?" Because I look at that and I think of that. It makes me want to laugh every time. But yeah, it's such a sad ending too. Like, especially how Night 6 ends is so sad, dude. I was like, damn.
Shows the bite of 87 take place in the mouth of the golden Fredbear. This is further supported by the quote-unquote boss of the game being that same golden Fredbear, where in the final nights, he's the one who ends up stalking you. All the other animatronics disappear. You're being haunted by the suit that bit you. So yeah, that's it. All the evidence points to the victim of 87 being our protagonist, the character we're playing as in FNAF 4. Good job, Scott. You finally put together a game with a coherent plotline. Except
but it's not.
You didn't. Scott Cawthon, if all of us are right in our theory, then you, sir, are wrong. Just when it looked like you were making a game that actually adhered to its own lore, you also made a game that is completely impossible from a scientific perspective. Loyal theorists, it's time we give Scott's latest bag of tricks a little lesson in real-life science. While frontal lobe injuries aren't as uncommon as people think, actually they happen all the time in car accidents, playing football, falling down, etc., having your whole frontal lobe bitten off has a much more profound impact on mental and physical functions. It would come with a whole slew of symptoms from motor skill impairment to nervous system issues, but the side effects we're most concerned with today would all be psychological. Removal of the frontal lobe significantly impacts the victim's ability to process certain types of stimuli, specifically fear stimuli. Let me give you some backstory. In the good old 1940s and 50s, psychiatrists...
I guess he does have a point. So I wonder if that's what... Because Scott Cawthon wasn't saying the certain stories that he didn't like get to finish. So I wonder if this has something to do with he didn't finish. Because that I remember hearing this at the time, actually.
Psychiatrists often thought the best way to cure problems with the brain were to cut pieces out. Feeling depressed? Well, let's slice that out. Overly aggressive? That chunk probably wasn't important. As such, there are extremely well-documented studies of patients
Alright. Shit, you didn't need that part of your brain anyways. You feel happy? Alright, we'll say goodbye to that.
Out frontal lobes. And what's fascinating about them was what happened to their fear response. Patients without a frontal lobe become uninhibited because they no longer have a fear response. Way back in my Fallout episode, we looked in depth at the most famous accidental lobotomy in history, Phineas Gage, who literally had an iron rod shot straight through his head, completely destroying his left frontal lobe. One of the most striking differences between pre-pole Phineas and post-pole Phineas was his sense of inhibition. And by that I mean post-pole Phineas had none. He had no sense of caution, no sense of fear or self-consciousness. He was described to be impulsive to the point of being rude and vulgar in public. No fear, no anxiety, no social pressure anywhere. Going back to the game, one of the things Scott does a great job of...
That makes sense, and that's rough. That's really rough.
FNAF franchise is putting you in the eyes of Mike or Jeremy or whoever. We feel invested in our protagonist because we are that character. But in this case, that's scientifically impossible, specifically because of the bite of 87. If the main character of this game truly is little Timmy Lost a Lobe, he wouldn't wander around a house clicking a flashlight on and off. Why would he? He doesn't care, because tragically, he no longer has the capacity to care. His brain structure no longer allows it. As if this weren't enough, a frontal lobe injury also tampers with concentration and attention span. The main character in the game is still supposed to be concentrated over a long period of multiple hours. But the thing is, patients without frontal lobes don't have this ability. In fact, they can only stay focused on what they see immediately happening in front of them. A child...
That's crazy. We're getting like a history lesson here of how the brain works, because I didn't know any of this.
Missing a frontal lobe who repeatedly turned a flashlight on and off in a hallway without seeing anything would lose interest. They wouldn't have the mental wiring necessary to concentrate on self-preservation. They would literally just go back to bed. The game is impossible the way it's being presented, because it would literally be over before it began. But the final and biggest nail in the coffin for this one is how frontal lobe injuries affect the imagination. The frontal lobe controls a ton of mental processing abilities, including dreams. You might think that an uncontrollable imagination would lead to exactly the kind of nightmares or hallucinations you see in this game, but in fact, it's the exact opposite. Rigorous studies have been done on the imaginations and dreams.
Is it because the date wasn't 1987 for it? I think that's somewhere in this, because I remember it's not. I remember somewhere it got switched or something like that. Like this was the first one that happened. I could be wrong. I remember hearing that theory. That's one theory I do remember from this time, and I don't know if I'm right or not. Maybe that fixes things. I don't know.
Lobotomized patients. While patients without a frontal lobe can have dreams, one thing they can't have is nightmares. Patients missing a frontal lobe carry their lack of fear and inhibition straight into their dreams. And why not? It makes sense. If the mind isn't registering fear consciously, there's no reason to process it subconsciously in a dream. Studies show that lobotomized patients can dream about idyllic scenarios, money, fame, praise, but they can't dream about the monsters under the bed. Or in this case, the Foxy in the closet, making the nightmare state of FNAF 4 impossible for the victim of the bite of 87. In fact, going back to the dark days of psychiatry, some patients who experience the kind of recurring nightmare we see in FNAF 4 actually had their frontal lobes intentionally removed to stop these dreams from happening.
Oh my
One
God.
famous case describes a patient who was experiencing a recurring dream of being chased by ferocious animals. After the patient received the lobotomy in 1953, yes, he still had the dream, but would instead describe it as being a nice dream with some nice animals. His visions in the dream were no longer threatening. The animals were happy, he was happy, and he was no longer able to perceive any of the fear
I wonder how many people watched this video and were like, damn, that kind of sounds like a good idea. Because I imagine it crossed someone's mind. Like let's be honest here. I imagine one of them did. Like, there's like 30-something million people who watch this video. So I imagine a lot of people did not know that, because I sure didn't.
To the surgery. So
I'm not considering it. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about other people. So I want to put that out there. I'm not talking about me or like, you're not actually thinking about it. No, I'm not.
Typically speaking, there is no single way the main character of FNAF 4 can be the bite of 87 victim, like Scott seems to have indicated. Sure, the game could be about another kid, I guess, but that would be lame. No, this game is meant to be about the victim of the bite of 87. The poor kid who wasn't just attacked at the restaurant, but continues to be tortured through nightmarish visions, dreams, coma-induced hallucinations, whatever. I have zero doubt that that's what Scott intended, but the fact of the matter is, he just didn't do enough homework. A kid with those sorts of injuries wouldn't care about those things in the first place. He would have no fear, and there would be no animatronics, real or imaginary, that would be able to keep him up at night. Biologically speaking, nothing he would be experiencing would be any scarier than the fan. The fan. Sorry, Scott. Better luck in the movie. But hey, that's just...
God damn, the movie's been in the making for that long. Holy shit.
the theory.
What the hell is that? That's crazy. I'm watching this now with the movie coming out because I forgot the movie's been in the making for that long. That's crazy. Since 2015. 8 years ago. Wow. And I'm excited to see what they're going to put on all this movie because I don't even know what you do for that movie. It looks like they're going based off more of the first and maybe the third game with Springtrap being there. I don't know. I really don't know what they're basing this really on. I don't know because it might be just the first and maybe this game. Maybe I can imagine this game being maybe in there. But all right, we're on to the next video. This one's called Why FNAF Will Never End. Ain't that the truth?
The show that covers theories on other games in the 2-week intervals between new installments of FNAF. But if I'm ever going to see requests for games other than FNAF 4 in my Twitter feed, this video needed to be made. Because, I have a confession, Internet, I made a mistake in my last FNAF video. Not my research, mind you. My conclusion that this kid scientifically could not be the Bite of 87 victim was actually 100% right, both scientifically and, as you've been eager to point out, lore-wise. No, I was wrong in calling this the Bite of 87. I'm man enough to admit my mistakes. Hey, it's why they're called theories after all, right? Anyway, in this case,
it's a good theory though, because what else could you really think it was at that time, especially?
Was sure to let me know my error in his first comment on any of my videos on the.
It was a good video, Matt. I always enjoy them. Unfortunately, as more clever reviews are pointed out in the comments below, you overlooked the crucial detail in the game. I'll be looking forward to the next theory. That's cool. I listened to Scott Cawthon's interview. He seems like a nice guy as well. So it's cool that he's involved with this.
Which was really exciting, but it did leave me wondering, should I feel honored or trolled? And let me just say, because you were asking, I didn't delete that comment. I only delete comments from game theorist bots. No, I don't want your free PSN codes, okay? So I guess Scott must have deleted it himself. Maybe there was a typo. Or maybe a clue to FNAF 5.
Wait, hold on. No, not the ads.
Before we get
what? FNAF 5 is coming. Is that what it was supposed to say?
Before we get that far ahead, let's close the book on FNAF 4. First, let's set the record straight on where it takes place. It does not take place in Fredbear Family Diner, but rather the first location of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the one from the old phone guy tapes found in FNAF 3. But the Springlock yellow suits are the only ones there, I hear you typing. And you're right, they obviously are, but remember, Phone Guy's tapes in FNAF 3 welcome you to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, not Fredbear Diner, before he tells you about their, quote, specially designed suits. Roll that cassette tape.
Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Right now we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit.
Specially designed, i.e. not in existence during the Fredbear era. Plus, in that same set of phone calls, Phone Guy tells us the suits have become decommissioned after an incident where there were, quote, multiple simultaneous Springlock failures. What do we see at the end of FNAF 4? An incident where multiple Springlocks fail simultaneously and a child dies. And let me be clear, because the terminology is pretty confusing. In the game, the word Springlock is used to describe both the suit as a whole and the individual locking mechanisms within that suit. A Springlock suit is made up of multiple spring locks. To have multiple simultaneous Springlock failures, like Phone Guy says, would either mean multiple suits going down at the same time, which is a bit coincidental and hard to believe, or that multiple locks within the same suit collapse at the same time, causing a catastrophic failure. Say, for instance, because a child is squirming to escape and his tears are moistening the locks. Crunch.
Yeah, because that was from
weird for
those mini games in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. I forgot that was one of the mini games. I didn't pick that up.
These suits have them kill a child, sell the company, and then Freddy Fazbear's Pizza starts using them again? It just wouldn't make a lot of sense. Long story long, although Fredbear and Springtrap are the featured attractions at this restaurant, this is a Freddy Fazbear branded joint, one dating back to, as we see on the TV set, 1983. But enough about the timeline. I don't want to dwell on it in this episode.
I didn't even know you could turn on the TV.
General
What?
Placement of the timeline is enough because the most interesting part of this game is the ending and its overall meaning. Like I said in the other FNAF 4 video, if this was just a random kid who got bit, that would be really lame. So how does this particular kid fit into the overall lore? Why is this incident of 1983 so important to show? Who is the FNAF 4 kid, and what does the ending line of "I will put you back together" mean? Well, let me tell you, the evidence points to him being the puppets. Let's look at the evidence. First, many have pointed out the streaming tears down the kid's face, which mimic the tears down the puppet's mask. Okay, sure, that was good evidence when we first saw them in FNAF 2, but at this point, those nice pixelated streams are on nearly every chubby-cheeked kid who's ever entered these restaurants.
Because
so
wasn't it supposed to be, the kid outside was the puppet? Wasn't that the whole thing? I thought that was.
It's not much to go on, but we can take it one step further. While the tears themselves might not be interesting, look at this. It's a screen from the Mangle minigame back in FNAF 3. This weird, crying, giant silhouette was just kinda out of place in the last game. And all us FNAF theorists just kinda glossed over it in our analyses, since, seriously, what is it?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was either. I was really confused.
Right? With its overall fabric feel and its thin striped legs? I mean, that's what I thought at the time, but again, there was really no reason to bring it up since it just didn't fit anywhere. But now we have a new game and new information that might make this make sense. Look at its body position. Notice anything specific about it? It resembles a position we see our FNAF 4 kid in a lot throughout the game, including his final scene, kneeling down, 2 streaming tear tracks, and his face turned 2/3 toward the camera. Do you see the connection here? But not only that, look at what our kid wears. A black and gray striped shirt. And remember, this is in a world where all the other kids are generally wearing single color outfits. It's an oddly specific detail. Now I ask you, what's the signature look for the puppet? None other than black and white stripes. Besides those design details, consider that there's no sign of the puppet anywhere in this game, and yet practically every other animatronic is present in some form, meaning that this game likely exists at a time when the puppet has yet to be created. Remember when he just kind of showed up in FNAF 2, which I should remind you takes place 4 years later than this game? He just kind of came out of nowhere. Well, this could be the puppet's origin story. This idea of kid as puppet also works really well with the locked box at the end. What's in there besides Markiplier's stunning face and buttery voice?
It could be the puppet. Oh shit! I didn't even. Wow. Okay, my thought was really wrong. I thought it was like the stuffed animals were in there or something like that. I don't know. Shit.
Too, he has a habit of coming out of boxes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who can bend and fold up into a space that small. But there's even more evidence when you look at the timeline. Now, I challenge you to ask yourself one question: what exactly is the child afraid of in this game? Why does he hate this restaurant so much? The easy answer would seem to be the animatronics, but that'd be wrong. It's important to note that at the time of the cutscene minigames, he's not scared of Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. When you walk over the pile of plushies in the corner, we see that he considers these characters as his friends.
Yeah.
Foxy is kinda in that camp too, but to a slightly lesser degree because his brother has started scaring him with the Foxy mask, hence the head being pulled off. Even the weird psychic friend.
God damn, how big is that fucking head part? I wonder how big those fucking stuffed animals are if they was fit on his head like that.
Presence for him. So clearly he's not scared of the characters. Is he scared of the people working at the restaurant? The purple guy? Maybe, but that's not quite the full answer either. Again, watch how he behaves. When trying to escape the worker in the Fredbear outfit, he can't muster the courage to run past the show stage with the yellow suits. He collapses in fear. And when the bullies drag him over to the stage, he's freaking out. Clearly, what he is specifically afraid of in this restaurant is the yellow Springtrap suits, whether in animatronic mode or suit mode, which begs one question. Why? Well, the answer lies in psychic friend Fredbear. Look at the dialogue running through the kid's head. Hurry the other way and find someone who will help. you know what happens if he catches you. That line would be easy to write off as this just being a scared kid who believes the ghost stories he's heard from the dead-eyed girl he talks to on the way home. She's creepy. If it wasn't for
why is her
one
eyes
this
green?
other line. No. Don't you remember what you saw? This kid actually saw something. A crime. Something terrible in these restaurants. It would seem to imply that he saw another child get shoved into one of these suits.
It makes sense.
Also explain the strange brown pixels sticking out of the yellow body backstage. A tuft of hair.
Oh, I didn't see that.
All of these details.
I was wondering what this was about when I played the game. I couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. I was like, how did he get back here? Oh, that... Shit, that makes so much more sense now.
Also fit with the character I've been lovingly calling Psychic Friend Fredbear. He's here,
Psychic.
he's there, he's everywhere. Who you gonna call? Psychic Friend Fredbear. I mean, seriously, what is this thing? Sometimes he's a bear, sometimes he's referencing it, and sometimes he's...
The fuck? I haven't seen down there.
Okay. At first, it seemed like the creepy little toy was nothing but an imaginary friend. That was until the final moments, after the bite, when we see the bear's signature yellow text. But this time, instead of parroting back the kid's feelings like he usually does, he shows that he is clearly in possession of a mind of his own, saying all kinds of creepy things like, "You're broken. We're still your friends. Don't you believe that? And I'm still here. I will put you back together." This isn't just a split personality of the kid or anything. This is a separate entity. This is a spirit. This is someone who knows the danger of getting caught by the people wearing those suits. This is the victim that our FNAF 4 kid saw getting stuffed. This is Golden Freddy, Purple Guy's first victim.
Shit. Oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. Holy shit.
I know you're rushing to the comments now to say that this changes a lot of things and goes against stuff we've been saying for a while. But don't worry, we'll address it. Just get excited. We've pinpointed the identities of our two most mysterious animatronics. This is an awesome revelation from an evidence standpoint, but to be honest, it's a little disappointing from a storytelling standpoint. Here's why. We humans all have a proven psychological need to complete things. This need is called, unimaginatively, the completion principle. We want to fill in the blanks in the stuff around us so that the world makes sense.
What the fuck? What is that?
Control. It's the biggest psychological reason why you want to beat a game, or even just an individual level. You know how you just can't stop and save in the middle of a level? You have to play until it's done. This is the reason why. Weirdly enough, it's even the reason why it's so hard to leave just one slice of cake, outside of sheer deliciousness, or leave out the last two pieces of a puzzle. I mean, even just looking at it on the screen, Earl, just put the piece in. Just finish the last two just animate the pieces to move over into the open slots, and I beg you, just finish the last... Thank you. This isn't just you being, OMG, I'm so OCD. It's actually because the brain is wired to
OMG, I'm so OCD. Oh, man.
Respond to knowing when you're done with a task. The brain can now take the mental energy it was using to focus on that activity and use it on something else. But what happens if you don't finish that piece of cake? Or if you walk away from a game right before beating the level? Your brain can't put that activity away because it's still not finished. You literally continue to spend mental energy on it in the background, even when you're... Whether he knew this when creating the first FNAF game or not, Scott Cawthon has done an amazing and infuriating job of creating a story that looks like it goes one way, but also looks like it might go somewhere else. This keeps us thinking about FNAF lore, talking about FNAF lore, pestering our favorite YouTube theorists for more FNAF lore for weeks, months, watching every video released on everything from top 10 details you missed in the FNAF 4 teaser to top 10 facts
Holy shit.
about the cupcake. The cupcake! 10 facts
10
about
facts?
the cupcake. Seriously. Once we're into the lore, our brains literally cannot let the pieces go until there's some kind of resolution, a completed story. But Scott has done such a good job of keeping the game in flux that the pieces never quite feel like they fit in a way that feels satisfying. We never
They have
get
to
that
wait till
moment
next time.
ROLAIDS. That spells relief. So we want the pieces of the puzzle to fit together cleanly, and the problem with
I was
FNAF
like,
is that
what?
while there's plenty of evidence
I don't know. I'm too young for that joke.
story to go one way, there's also evidence for it going somewhere else. Try this one on for size. Well, there's a lot of evidence for the kid in FNAF 4 being the puppet, and I'd bet my bottom dollar that that's the solution that Scott intended. From a storytelling standpoint, more pieces actually fit together if the FNAF 4 kid becomes Golden Freddy and not the puppet. This would make our first victim, the one our FNAF 4 kid sees get killed, the puppet, like we've been hypothesizing since FNAF 2. Suddenly, you have a group of 5 kids celebrating a birthday, one kid associated with each animatronic, with the one representing Golden Freddy being the odd man out. And this scenario perfectly mimics the FNAF 3 good ending with the Happiest Day minigame, where 5 souls from 5 kids, each representing a different animatronic, reunite to celebrate a birthday that never really happened. It actually creates a beautifully bookended story of redemption and forgiveness, a reunion of brothers. And yeah, I know the complaints. Don't get me started about the size of the kids being different. They're the spirits of dead children in an 8-bit minigame, okay? Literalizing the sizes seems to be a bit of a stretch. And it goes even further than that. In the FNAF 2 Give Gifts minigame, the puppet gives life to the dead children.
That's interesting. So it would have. I didn't know that. I didn't know that like the actual teenagers would be that. I always thought they weren't because of how. Yeah, I don't know because I thought they were just like actual literal small children. I didn't.
With Golden Freddy as the odd man out who doesn't get a mask and does a ghostly jump scare at the end. That would reflect the 4 bullies getting killed in the pizzeria by Purple Guy in response to this incident, while the one, Golden Freddy, dies somewhere else, like a hospital bed. I mean, we do see the IV and pills and flowers, and as a result, that's why the puppet, the first victim, is able to reach those 4 kids' souls and save them, while Golden Freddy has to behave like a ghost. It also gels with the idea that the Take Cake minigame represents the first victim at the first location, and why the puppet is always the jump scare, because he's the kid we've just watched get killed. So a lot of storytelling pieces fit together, but at the end of the day, that leaves us with too many questions about why Golden Freddy is talking to our FNAF 4 kid. A spirit needs to be inhabiting that bear for the story to make sense, and Scott certainly put in plenty of evidence that leads us to believe that the FNAF 4 kid is the puppet. The FNAF 4 kid needs to have seen a tragic, scary incident to make him fear the restaurant, which means he can't have been the first kid to have been killed. In short, the challenge here is that you have a choice. There's more evidence for our FNAF 4 kid becoming the puppet, but the resulting story is more satisfying for him to become Golden Freddy. And either side leaves you wanting more, because not all the evidence works in either scenario. And that is the true secret to FNAF. The completion principle demands that we get answers, that the scraps of evidence across the 4 games come together.
So I imagine that's
but
what the next video
when they
is.
do, our brains will just be able to move on and forget about it, making it just another game that we played and is collecting dust on our shelf, or taking up memory space in our Steam account, I guess. In the meantime, good on Scott for making sure FNAF is always on our minds. He didn't do it by giving us endless levels or a whole bunch of stuff to complete.
Wait, hold up. Wait, what? But yeah, I mean, shit, everyone's still talking to this day and all the books and whatnot. I gotta read the books.
The pieces that are there are never quite enough. So GG, Scott. GG. And GG to all of you two theorists, all of us, for trying to complete the story and solve the mysteries.
But there's another one
about it, but honestly, I've been having a blast. It's like the Gravity Falls of video games. It's been my honor to work with all of you.
So, okay, I don't really know much about. I've watched Gravity Falls since I was a kid. Is that lore still that much deep? Like, I've heard a lot about it, but I don't know if that lore goes that deep or not.
On this quest,
I might have to look into that next. What the fuck?
Presence of Mangle.
Yeah, what's that about? So we'll go into the next one. That's interesting. I wonder what's in this next one then. Holy shit. This whole video has been like a roller coaster. The cool thing about these videos feel like they go by super quick. And there's a lot to process now. Because, like, is he Golden Freddy or is it Puppet? I think it would work better if he was Golden Freddy, right? I guess? Because I guess Puppet, logically wise, would make more sense. But it's also Golden Freddy could make sense as well. Okay, mine is Golden Freddy. Because I feel like that works better with the second game with the puppet popping out. So I guess we'll see what... this is Game Theory of FNAF, the clue that solves Finance at Freddy. So he must have figured it out.
After months of intensive therapy, I'm back to finally put the original FNAF tetralogy to rest. It's done.
It's funny because I can imagine that in my head. Matt had said in therapy just talking about FNAF, the lore. That's crazy. Well, December 13th. Oh, shit. Okay, so it was a little while.
No more Halloween updates, no more FNAF 5 rumors, and no more fan Suck on that, you multi-bladed propeller of air. So shortly
Well,
after my
there was a
last
FNAF 5 that came with such a location.
theory, I arranged a live stream with some fellow FNAFers to close the book on the series. And what happened was something that some fellow
Who's
FNAFers
that?
close the book
It's I didn't even see Dwayne down there.
on the series.
I don't know
And
who
what
the rest of these guys are though.
happened was something that none of us expected.
We have internet.
We have it. We're back.
No, not the stream issues. Scott started talking to us.
Yeah.
Well, kinda. He kept updating his site, scottgames.com, with cryptic messages as to the true
I remember
meaning
this.
of the game. What is seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. In the FNAF 4 minigame, why would the tiny toy Chica be missing her beak? And finally, 4 games, 1 story. It was incredible! After a year of taking shots in the dark, finally we were, in a way, hearing back from the man who knew all
That's
the
really
answers.
cool.
Scott Cawthon, the creator, was reaching out from the shadows to give us, for pretty much the first time ever, concrete
I think it's
leads
cool
as
that he doesn't say it fully, because I know there's certain questions he won't answer. I think that's really cool because it keeps everyone intrigued, and it's worked for 8 years. He's got the formula down how to get this work, and he knows the right way. Really good at telling these stories.
to where to look. But what did these cryptic clues mean? In the moment, the best I could do was this.
Is it possible that FNAF 2 didn't actually happen?
But in the days that followed, those 3 clues led theorists on Reddit, Steam, and YouTube to completely throw out everything that they knew about the franchise. What if we were looking at the franchise all wrong? Instead of counting animatronic toes, calculating minimum wage rates, and tracking Purple Guy's work history, maybe we needed
So
to
is
take a
everything
step
gonna get convoluted here? Is everything we knew is just gonna get stripped back? Is that what's gonna happen here?
back. What if everything in FNAF was just a dream? That's right, a FNAF dream theory. That everything we played
Dream
through in these
theory.
games was created in the mind of the FNAF 4's crying child. It sounds like a cop-out, right? Like a
Little-
lazy
yeah, a
storytelling
little bit.
cliche.
That's what
Maybe,
I'll say.
but stay with me. Even if you think you've heard
It sounds
parts
like
of this
kind of like, I don't know, I don't know. I hope it's not just all a dream, because I don't know how I feel about that.
theory before, you'll want to stick around. I've unearthed the clues that finally put our year and a half of FNAF speculating to rest. Of the 3 clues Scott gave us that day, the most damning one was the last one. Why would tiny toy Chica be missing her beak? What? In the FNAF 4 minigame, you can talk to a small girl on the playground.
Oh, I
with
didn't see
toy versions
that.
of Bonnie, Freddy, and Chica, but her beak is missing? During the stream, we were all like, Scott, please. But when we looked, sure enough, there it was. A few orange pixels laying on the ground. What? Seriously? This was the crucial detail all of us had missed. And yet, for as absurd as it may sound, those 5 pixels changed everything.
No
upending
way.
A year
No way. What is this gonna be? No way.
of theorizing, because that missing beak directly parallels FNAF 2's new version of Chica, who loses her beak when she goes on the attack. It was something we all had written off as a graphical glitch or a design choice, not as a clue to the meaning of the entire series. And yet, here it was from the creator's mouth. And that is when it started to click. FNAF 2's shiny new animatronics. What are they called? Toy animatronics. And that's not just a cute name the community came up with, like Freddles. It's right there in the custom night menu. It's canon. That's a strange name for a bunch of robots, right? Unless it's meant to be taken literally, and then they're all just a bunch of oh my god. What if they are toys, and this is all just a dream scenario inspired by these little guys? Well, let's keep going with this toy clue. I mean, obviously, the toy animatronics are shiny, plastic-looking fake, just like a small plastic action figure would be. But it explains a bigger question about FNAF 2, the look and design of Mangle. I mean, seriously, the story we're told to believe in this game is pretty absurd. That kids just rip it apart and put it back together again? And so the employees just leave it as a mangled collection of parts for small children to play with. What parent would ever be comfortable letting little Timmy touch that thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
and
wonder if we ever really get much about Mango, because I want to know what Mango's all about.
here's a cute thing for you to play with. Oh my gosh! Who could have seen that coming? But if we assume FNAF 2 is in the mind of a child who has seen all these toys, Mango makes a whole lot more sense. He's just a dismantled toy. Think about Sid from Toy Story, who fuses various toys together to create hideous abominations. This explains Mangle's 2 heads. I don't care how much you redesign Foxy, no one planned him to have 2 heads. In fact, note that Mangle appears in a girl's room.
Yup.
An insignificant detail? I don't think so. The Chica-Beak shows that this girl's toys fall apart, just like Mangle, the tear-apart, put-back together toy. And toys explain FNAF 1 too. The crying child of FNAF 4 has 4 plushies in his room. The crew from FNAF 1. Plushies, as in
Right.
soft, stuffed animals. What are the original 4 animatronics made out of? Soft materials. Fur and fabric, not plastic like the toys. So much so that the one thing that we hear about them throughout the series is that these old animatronics collect odors and never get washed, just like an overused and overloved stuffed animal. But the parallels don't stop there. Why is Foxy
I hope this isn't all a dream. I really hope that's not, because I don't know.
out of order in FNAF 1? Well, the plushie he's based on is missing its head. How about Foxy's jump scare popping in abruptly from behind a wall? It's awfully similar to the way the brother scares the crying child throughout FNAF 4. In his Foxy mask, no less. And how's Golden Freddy fit into this? Well, in the hidden FNAF 4 Easter egg, we see on the TV that the show Fredbear and Friends features the Golden Fredbear alongside the core 4 of Foxy, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. That's your cast from the first game. The dream of FNAF 1 was inspired by this show and the plushies, hence it not containing any of the other animatronics. Even the fact that the child doesn't have a Golden Freddy plush, and that instead he has his imaginary friend, psychic friend Fredbear, who appears and disappears at will, directly references Golden Freddy's ghostly behavior in FNAF 1 and 2. In fact, every game, design detail, and animatronic can be explained under this theory. The recurring elements of the phone and the fan, right there from some of his favorite
He really doesn't like that fan, does he?
toys. The fact that no one in their right mind would work in a place like this? Dream. Firing an employee for something like odor? It's a child's imagination of what employment is like. How about the weird metaphysical hoops that you have to jump through to access FNAF 3's minigames? Well, dreams have weird rules where dialing codes into cinder blocks makes perfect sense. FNAF 3's Springtrap is directly inspired by the girl in her golden body finger puppet that pinches and traps her finger. The idea that the animatronic
I thought that was interesting, because I picked that up when I was playing the game. I was like, oh, is that supposed to be Springtrap? I was a little confused by that.
Comes from this girl spreading the urban legend that if you die, they hide your body and never tell. The naked endoskeletons come from his time trapped in the supply room. Balloon Boy is the dream version of this kid, excited to go to the birthday party. They even have a single balloon each. Even the oddballs of Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie fit under this theory. They're the product of the crying child being freaked out by the shadows that Golden Freddy and Bonnie cast onto the wall. And while we're on the subject of shadows, Dream Theory even rolls up the purple guy. Let's pull in Scott's second clue.
Yeah, what's this gonna be? What's the purple guy then? If that's what he's thinking of, because God, this kid has a fucked up imagination. If that's all just in his head, Jesus.
Seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. Yes, he could be referencing the shadow animatronics, which are literal shadows, but what he's more likely referencing is Purple Guy helping a fellow employee put on the yellow suit. They're in a dark, shadowy room, and what the kid sees
what?
when he
I didn't
put
see
on the
that.
yellow suit.
What was
They're in
that?
a dark, shadowy room, and what the kid sees, or what he thinks he sees, is someone getting violently stuffed into a suit when it's just a mascot putting on its head. Think about how traumatic it'd be if you were a kid and you were at Disneyland and then saw Mickey Mouse suddenly take off its head. It would blow your mind. But we all know that there's no murder happening. It's just employees going about the daily grind. In fact, that's why Purple Guy is
The daily grind. I'm glad he used that term. It fits it well.
purple. In the Atari-style games, shadows are represented not with black, but with purple, as indicated by the shadows cast by the animatronics on stage. That's why Shadow Freddy,
One big
Shadow
dream,
Bonnie,
though?
and even the innocent employee
I
in
don't
the
know.
dark back room, the shadowy purple guy, are such an unusual color. Still skeptical? So was I. Sure, it
little bit,
answers
yeah.
a lot and smooths out the timeline, but there was still one piece of the puzzle that was missing. One thing that was nagging me. It still felt like a convenient explanation, but not an intentional one. Not something that Scott had planned for the series. All I needed was just that one detail that made everything fit together. But then, while writing this script, it finally dawned on me. The nail in the coffin. The one piece of evidence that no one can deny and that, to my knowledge, no one has talked about in the months of theorizing. The detail that convinced me this theory has to be true. Are you ready to have your mind blown? Listen to the sound that you hear at the end of every night of the first 3 games.
Wait, hold on. No, there's ads holding on. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't buy this theory. I really don't. I could see, but...
A grandfather clock chiming the same song every time. Why would the end of my shift in an office be signaled by a grandfather clock chime? It wouldn't, unless I was asleep, dreaming in my house with a grandfather clock right outside my room, just like the layout of the crying child's house we see in the FNAF 4 minigames.
Right.
6 o'clock a.m., time to get up. But now let's look at FNAF 4. How does each night end there? A beeping alarm clock.
Okay.
Because we're no longer in the crying child's house. We're in a hospital, trying to recover from being bitten. Hence the pills, IV, and flower Easter eggs. No hospital has a grandfather clock, but they're all equipped with a...
I can buy him going back and forth that room as being this theory. I could buy that. But the whole series, I don't know. Especially 3rd game, and I don't know. I don't know how much I buy it. I really don't know.
Digital alarm clock. This, to me, was the missing link, the piece of evidence that took this theory from convenient explanation for a lot of the game's weirdness to definitive proof that this is what Scott intended. My heart is racing right now. I'm so excited about sharing this with you. It feels like finding the Rosetta Stone, the one detail that unlocks everything else in this huge mystery we've been trying to solve. But at the same time, it's bittersweet, right? Remember what I said at the beginning of the episode? It sounds like a cop-out, right? Like a lazy storytelling cliche.
That's why I'm hoping it's not.
You agreed with that. If you're honest with yourself, I bet a lot of you. You'll notice across my videos I don't cover dream and coma theories very often for exactly that reason. They're too easy, too flexible. Because it's all a dream, weird stuff can be written off. Logical errors overlooked simply
because it's like one of those, what's it called? Like, it's like, I don't know how to end this, so fuck it. It's just a dream kind of thing.
Because it's not actually real. In the theory world, they're OP. They're hard to argue against and can be molded to fit any random collection of details. And for a game like FNAF, where us theorists have spent thousands of hours combing through all the details, making and remaking timelines, bending over backwards to make every last piece of information fit together across the 4 games, it was just a dream reveal invalidates all of that work. It says that none of it really mattered since none of it really happened. And Scott knows this. Let's look at a quote from Scott in his update on Steam regarding the Halloween DLC for FNAF 4. Quote, "The story remains completely hidden. I guess most people assume that I filled the game with random Easter eggs this time. I didn't. What's in the box? It's the pieces put together. But the bigger question is, would the community accept it that way? The fact that the pieces have remained elusive this time strikes me as incredible and special. A fitting conclusion in some ways, and because of that, I've decided that maybe some things are best left forgotten forever." End quote. To me, the key phrase here is, would the community accept it that way? He knows that it's all a dream explanation would fail to live up to our astronomical expectations. It's underwhelming. What about the puppet?
Yeah.
What about the oddly specific detail of the paychecks? How about Scott confirming on Steam that my FNAF 2 theory was almost...
Game Theories did an incredible video on part 2, getting almost everything right.
Almost 100% correct.
Hell
It's this,
yeah.
Will the community accept it quote that makes me think Scott intended the dream theory to be official, but also understands that ever revealing it would be a huge mistake. Hence him...
Yeah, okay. So that makes sense why it was in the box. Okay, this is all starting to come back to me now. I was about to say, I don't really know how much I'm buying this whole thing, but if that's what's in the box and he doesn't want... Okay, yeah, okay.
Keeping it locked in the box.
You got me back now.
You already see it in the comment threads discussing earlier versions of the dream theory. People enraged by the sheer mention of this thing. Heck, you'll probably see it in this comment section. But it doesn't have to be that way. Sure, the nights themselves may be
I think that's why he hasn't
dreams,
revealed the box to this day, from my knowledge. I don't think he's talked about what's in the box.
But the lore contained within those dreams doesn't have to be meaningless. In fact, It's not. Think about it. The urban legends the kids are sharing had to start somewhere. That crying child clearly saw something that made him scared of these restaurants. And then how do the Atari games fit in? Are they just dreams within dreams? They're not. In researching this episode, I not only found the clues that solidify the dream theory, but also the missing links that we've all been overlooking in putting the FNAF timeline together. Scott's final clue about 4 games, 1 story may be a reference to a crying child's nightmares and eventual death in the hospital, but it can also be referencing the story of the game's primary struggle, the puppet and the purple guy.
Wait, okay, hold on. What? Okay, so... And this means that everything is all... Wait, hold on a second. Let me just think about this for a second. We got one more. Okay. I thought that was it. I was wondering why this was like 2 hours long. It's because it was a live stream at the end of it. Got it. Okay, so we got 17-minute episode. Okay, cool. Bro, I swear this house is haunted. I've heard so much shit happen here the last 2 days.
I think the dream theory is indeed what Scott intended, where the minigames featuring the crying child from FNAF...
I don't blame him. If this is what he intended and he's just not saying that, I don't blame him. Because that would... I don't know. I'd rather him not ever say that, so we could just leave where the last, like, not last video, but the video before that was the theory. I like the part 2 theory more.
F4 are real, i.e. there's really a birthday party and he really gets bitten, and the events of each night at Freddy's across the 4 games where a security guard is attacked by robots is taking place in his mind. Like I said last episode, the clock sounds coupled with Scott's own statements both during the live stream and on Steam sold me 100% on that theory. That said, I, like a lot of you, aren't 100% satisfied with that explanation.
No.
Sure, the core gameplay sequences with you as the security guard might all be in the mind of a child.
Maybe that's why I don't want to buy it, is because I don't want it to be that, the ending.
But the underlying story here about a serial killer stalking the halls of the restaurant are just too detailed and too well fleshed out to just be a wash.
Be some
Here,
dream.
to me, are the big issues that the dream theory doesn't address. 1. The crying child is afraid of those yellow suits for a reason. Remember what you saw. You know what will happen if he catches you. These are lines that his imaginary friend Fredbear repeats over and over. It feels a lot more sinister and real than just, oh, this kid saw something scary and misunderstood it in the shadows. 2. The puppet doesn't have a good explanation under dream theory. Clearly, the puppet is one of the most important forces in this game, but he doesn't fit into the dream
doesn't
model
really appear, though.
A lot of other theorists have said it's symbolic of the boy's actions in his own dreams, but later this episode I'll prove that that's not true. If anything, the boy would be the security guard in these dreams, helpless and scared, not the puppet.
So yeah, so why would he be jumping on himself?
3. Scott confirmed the bulk of my FNAF 2 theory. This would be a strange move for him to go out of his way to say that a chain of events was correct if it was truly meaningless. And finally, number 4, the Atari minigames. Under dream theory, what? They're just dreams within dreams? What is this, Five Nights at Inception? And then there are plenty of little issues too, like a young child's dreams being so detailed as to include concepts that even most adults don't know, like sister locations and accurate minimum wage rates. So I combed over everything from the past year of theorizing to come up with the most well-supported, interesting, but also logical timeline of events telling the story of the rise and fall of Freddy Fazbear's. Admittedly, there are still gaps and logical leaps, which I'll be sure to call out, but right or wrong, this is the flow of events I believe creates.
I mean, at this point, I don't even think we can even really get a full entire story by ourselves. I don't think there's any shot in that.
Narrative to the series. So this one is dedicated to all you guys on Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, and in the comments who have been sending me theories for months. Think of this as my end of the year present for you. Right or wrong, this box is getting opened. The story begins at Fredbear Family Diner, the first location as revealed to us by Phone Guy in FNAF 2, and confirmed indirectly by Scott when he approved my FNAF 2 theory. I honestly think that
not part 2 as in like part 2 for FNAF 4. FNAF 2 part 2. Okay, got it. Okay, I thought it was FNAF 4 part 2 of that video. Got it.
Much to debate here anymore. A child is murdered outside the establishment by a mysterious figure, the purple guy, who escapes unnoticed. The victim's restless soul goes on to inhabit a puppet, which would then haunt the halls of the pizzeria. Boom! Done. No need to dwell on that. In the wake of the tragedy, the owners sell the name of Fredbear and the character's likeness to a larger company that will soon be known as Fazbear Entertainment. From there, the timeline picks up in 1983, as seen on the Crying Child's television set. Since buying the franchise, Fazbear Entertainment has distanced themselves from the last restaurant by redesigning Fredbear into a golden singer with a yellow rabbit partner. They've also rolled out a popular TV series, Fredbear and Friends, as well as a line of merchandise that includes both plastic
It's funny to me that they're trying to get back, like, oh shit, another child died. Alright, next one, let's not fuck up this time. Fucks them again. Fuck. Alright, next time we won't fuck this up.
plushies of all the characters. But perhaps the biggest addition has been a sister location of restaurants where Fredbear's friends are headlining. Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie, known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And that is our first major revelation, that FNAF 4's Fredbear themed restaurant and FNAF 1's Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location are open at the same time. We know this thanks to the phone guy tapes uncovered in FNAF 3. For those of you who haven't listened to those enough times to have them memorized, I am so jealous of your life. But secondly, let me refresh your memories. The tapes welcome you to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and then mention a tragic incident at a sister location which results in the yellow spring
At the
suits
sister
being
location, which is gonna be the next game. I was wondering why I was saying sister location. Okay. So interesting where this plays into sister location then. I'm curious. I've played maybe half that game, so what I might do is I might just unlist those last videos, and then I'll just put it all into one big compilation when I finish the game. That's what I'll probably just do.
commission. So let me translate that for you. For all of us unfamiliar with corporate buzzwords, a sister location is defined as another company owned by the same parent company. For
Let me know what was
example,
coming at this
KFC,
time.
Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell are all sister companies, with the parent company that holds them all together being Yum Brands. Yum is right. Ugh, I could totally go for some Pizza Hut right now. Pizza Hut lunch buffet, you are the best. Hashtag
Don't do this right now, sweet man. Don't do this right now, please. I'm hungry as fuck.
sister location to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, with the parent company being Fazbear Entertainment. Corporate structure for the win. What all of this means is that the unfortunate incident that Phone Guy mentions in the FNAF 3 tapes is the crying child getting chomped, which in turn is the inciting event that causes the two recently delivered yellow suits to the FNAF 1 location, the Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie suit Phone Guy talks about, to be stored away in the location's safe room. At this point in the timeline, still open and hidden in the back of the restaurant. Enter Purple Guy. Shortly after the yellow suits get decommissioned, more FNAF 3 tapes reveal Phone Guy warning employees to not bring customers back to the safe room and to stop moving the yellow Bonnie suit. In the following days, the safe room gets sealed with the request to, quote, not tell family, friends, or insurance representatives. Now,
Man, I just keep hearing shit.
June 26, 1983. The date of the missing children incident we learn about through the newspaper clippings pasted on the walls of FNAF 1, where, in the middle of the day, an employee dresses in a costume, lures 5 children to the back, kills them, and then stuffs their bodies into the suits. Although he's caught and taken into custody, the fact that all of this takes place in the restaurant's safe room, which remember are invisible to animatronics and security cameras, means that the actual murders aren't on camera. As such, the bodies of the children remain missing, hidden in the suits, and the killer can't be charged due to a lack of evidence. This is all represented in the game by the Foxy Go 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 minigame, where the layout of the game parallels the layout of the FNAF 1 location. Pirate Cove, to the right, a dining area. And as we see in the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame from FNAF 2, the puppet saves the kids by giving them life inside the animatronic suits. So now at this point in the timeline, we have Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, Golden Freddy, and the puppet alive and well. Well, not alive, dead, and then reborn. You get the idea. Also,
Yeah. I was about to say, I was like, well.
the company closes up the safe rooms to avoid all liability for the murders, and eventually the pizzeria is closed and the old animatronics retired due to the health conditions of the restaurant. As we see once again in the newspaper clippings from FNAF 1, the smell of rotting bodies inside the machines starts stinking up the place. So now let's pause there for a second. Up to now, everything has been pretty well
First they put that up on the wall.
substantiated with evidence. But before we get too much further, let's take a minute back with the crying child.
It's
Remember,
like a kind of reminder, like, hey, make sure that doesn't happen again. For like the third time. All right, let's just leave it where it should be.
biggest concerns about Dream Theory is that the crying child is scared of the yellow suits, but there's no real good explanation as to why. So what if the reason the crying child is scared of the yellow suits is because he saw the missing children?
Which I believe.
What if he saw the employee dressed up as a yellow animatronic
It'd make the
luring
most
the
sense.
children away? Yes, this would mean that the missing children's incident would happen before the yellow suits are retired and before the kid gets bitten, but it's a theory that works for a lot of different reasons. First, he's always at the pizzerias, especially towards the end of the day, so he'd definitely be in a position to see something like this.
Yep.
Second, it explains his irrational fear of the yellow suits because he saw people get taken to the back and never return. Third, the lines of "remember what you saw" and "you know what will happen if he catches you" that psychic friend Fredbear keeps repeating makes a whole lot more sense now. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, look at this line. "These are my friends." If this were indeed true, this line takes on a whole new meaning.
Yeah, I was about to say, so does that mean it's like, oh no, these are supposed to be my friends. They're not supposed to be doing this kind of... Okay, that puts a whole different perspective in this.
Like, what, they're your imaginary friends? I suppose. But then why would his collection of plushies just be with him when he dies? Why is that such an important detail that Scott chose to include? It wouldn't be, really. But what if they were literally his friends? That he knew the kids who went missing and got stuffed, and the plushies being there in the final scene represented not his plushies, but the spirit of his friends, the ones possessing the suits, being there with him as he dies. Now that gives you a reason to be scared of this restaurant.
Yeah.
But we can take it one step further.
That could be. I thought it was just like, no, these are supposed to be the nice ones. These are supposed to be my friends, previously from before I saw that happen. Like, this is not supposed to happen because of this. That would make things completely different.
There's one more issue with the crying child we've yet to cover. What happens to him when he dies at the end of FNAF 4? My original theory put him in the puppet because of design details, but in retrospect, that was wrong. Reddit user 3IEYIJ, Reddit user 3iej did an analysis of the color of the text during the ending sequence. All of the final lines aren't in the yellow used for psychic friend Fredbear, but rather a mysterious new off-white color for the final lines of "You're broken, I will put you back together." It's a subtle detail, but it's very clear that this is an intentional difference that Scott included in the games. So who's speaking? Well, who else but the one figure we know gives life to children dying in events around the Fazbear Entertainment franchise. It's the puppet, promising to right the wrongs of the pizzeria by bringing peace to the crying child's spirit. How does he plan to do this? Well, look at what he says. "We are still your friends." It's not "I am still your friend." The puppet using the plural here means that there would be multiple spirits present in this final scene that consider themselves friends to the crying child, but we also see this: "I am still here." The others are gone now, stuffed, leaving only the one with the ability to transcend the animatronic suits, the puppet. This makes a lot of sense if we again assume the crying child knew the kids who got stuffed during the missing children's incident.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. That makes sense why freaked out he is, too. I guess I could add... I could believe that.
It says, "I will put you back together." We've all been assuming his "you" is referring to the crying child.
Right.
But consider for a minute that the puppet is instead playing the pronoun game, to steal a phrase from CinemaSins, and is instead referring to the plural "you." You 5 are broken, and I will put you 5 back together. He's planning on reuniting the spirits of these 5 friends. What makes me so sure? Well, we see it happen. It's the conclusion to the whole story. In FNAF 3's The Happiest Day minigame, we see the crying child's birthday one more
Oh my god, this all makes sense. Holy shit. Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense of why he's there and why everyone says his friends and everything's... damn.
5 kids in masks representing the same
not.
5 animatronics, with the birthday boy representing Golden Fredbear. You can even compare the locations. Both are long
So it
corridors
makes the Golden Freddy be the first one, right? The puppet would be him. That would make more sense then. The puppet being in the box, because the yeah, okay.
And the fourth one slightly off to the side. The balloons are also the same colors: red, green, purple, yellow, and blue. Even the exit is where the Fredbear stage is, an exit that, if used, results in the bad ending because the souls don't get peace. It's where the child was chomped. And who's the one we see in this minigame putting everyone back together again? The puppet. Just like he promised the boy he would do on his
Oh,
deathbed.
no, he's not the puppet. He's Golden Freddy. My bad. My bad. Okay, that makes more sense. Whoops.
Best part.
Because it's supposed to be his birthday. Okay. I'm so... Shit. There's been too many theories going around, man. There's too much for me to process here.
Get to this minigame? Well, by playing through a bunch of others, including the Stage 01 game, which you access by typing the numbers 395248 into the wall. Why are those numbers important? It's the hexadecimal code for the color of purple guy, only it's backwards. It's Scott's way of showing that the puppet is actively trying to reverse the work of the purple guy and the atrocities committed inside the walls of Fazbear Entertainment pizza places. From here, the rest of the story is surprisingly straightforward. The pizza chain reopens during the summer of 1987 in FNAF 2's bigger location. Fazbear Entertainment rolls out the toy animatronics based on the character models of their merchandise, allows them to free roam, and even equips them with facial recognition software as added protection against child murderers. I mean, there's definitely a pattern being established here, so good on them for taking preventative measures. However, as we all know, it's not enough. As we hear about from the phone guy and see in the Save Them minigame, the purple guy, now the daytime security guard, kills 5 more kids within the walls.
I didn't see this minigame. This minigame's different.
Of this restaurant.
Yeah, I don't know what this means.
The help of the possessed Freddy animatronic to save the kids. The purple guy responds, "You can't," because it's true. They're already dead. That said, a case can be made that the puppet successfully gets these 5 souls into animatronics too.
I should have done more exploring, because I didn't explore at all. I just thought you always had to go that way.
6 characters were possessed, but now there are 5 new animatronics in this location. Toy Bonnie, Toy Freddy, Toy Chica, Mangle, and Balloon Boy. 5 spirits for 5 robots? Quite the coincidence, don't you think? Additionally, we hear from Phone Guy that around this time, the toy animatronics inexplicably become more aggressive towards adults, but stay friendly towards kids. The only explanation here is that the 5 new child spirits are given life in the new toy suits by the puppets, but these spirits are angry. The pizzeria is gonna close, but not before one final birthday party, where angry and eager for revenge against their killer, these newly created, possessed toy animatronics lash out at their murderer, the purple guy, who they know as the daytime security guard. Except, bad news, purple guy is long gone. He did his business and got out. In his place is Jeremy, night security guard moved to the day shift, wrongfully attacked by a vengeful toy animatronic the day of the birthday, losing his frontal lobe and coining the now iconic Bite of 87 moniker in the process.
Shit, that's crazy. So we're playing as, oh my god. So that makes so much more sense now. And then, you know, with saying what happened to the body, well, what happens to the tapes then? Because, you know, in night 6, he's like, you know, with somebody did something with the suit, so is he gonna, like, talk into that too?
Causes the location to be shut down and the toys to be scrapped. Animatronics from here on out are no longer allowed to walk around.
Or no, he did the business, left, and then that's what happens to him. Got it. So they went after the wrong person. Damn. Makes sense, they're after adults. Yeah. Shit.
Jeremy out of commission. Phone guy volunteers.
It's understandable. That's what I'm trying to say. It's understandable. Not condoning it, but it's understandable.
Take over the position of night.
Them attacking purple guy, I condone that though. But attacking like him and stuff like that, I don't condone it, but it's understandable.
Guard. Which brings us to our conclusion. The story comes to a final head in 1993. We know it's that year because of the minimum wage rate at the time, as well as the 11/12 date on the check. It doesn't matter if you're working night or day shift, all workers get paid on Fridays, and November 12th, 1993 landed on a Friday. It just fits. So Fazbear Entertainment tries to reopen the FNAF 1 location with the original animatronics and Phone Guy as security night guard. With the restaurant reopened one final time, we see this scene, where the puppet is waking up the spirits inside the animatronics one final time. It's time to get their revenge on Purple Guy at last. Phone Guy gets killed, and as we see in the final news article on the wall, no one comes to the restaurant because of its dark, tragic history, with the franchise closing at the end of the year. Sometime after, Purple Guy returns to the building, dismantles the suits, but in doing so, unwittingly unleashes the spirits of the dead children, who attack and kill him, and if they're reunited by the puppet at this day, finally receive their peace. Well, that is until Fazbear Fright opens and unearths Springtrap, but with all the other animatronics at peace, the puppet must get his hands dirty one final time, returning to burn down the building and finish Purple Guy.
That was the most satisfying thing, man. When they killed off Purple Guy, it's like, fuck yeah.
Off for good, or not. like
Yeah,
any
he
good
escaped.
horror story ends. So what about the Phantom animatronics, Shadow Freddy, and all that? Stay tuned, we're going to talk about those during the live stream immediately after this episode. The video's getting really long at this point, so I want to kind of close it out here. But as we close out here, I have to ask you this. Was that answer satisfying? You see, that's the beauty of the dream theory and the frustration of anything else. There's so much lore, so many puzzle pieces to fit together that in order to account for everything, the story can't get much simpler than that. Dream theory in this instance is so satisfying here because it explains all the messiness of the lore in broad, easy to understand strokes without you needing a PhD in FNAFology to understand what's going on. Sure, it is possible to fit the details together cleanly, but it's not an easy to follow story. It's almost like you need a full-length book to truly put all the pieces together. Okay, I get it. Scrap everything I just said. Scott's got a book. FNAF video made moot by a Scott Cawthon announcement. Or not.
I gotta read that book.
This is actually a last-minute update. I'm recording this literally hours before the video and live stream tomorrow, but it was just too important to leave out, because it looks like Scott agrees with my conclusion. For once, the story is indeed just too crowded to be satisfying. When talking about the new novel, which, true to form, released early, he said the following. Quote, "The truth is that after a while, lore becomes so dense that there isn't room for a story anymore. Sometimes the timeline gets so full that the only way to tell a real story is to have the story set in a different timeline." End quote. So there you have it. Dream theory for your simple answer, and a 20-minute long timeline for those of you who want something a bit more complete.
All right. Yeah, I you know what? That story he just said, I like that. I really like how that went together, because I think that fell together pretty well. I think the Shadow Bonnie and all that stuff, I think for the previous employees getting crushed, stuff like that, that makes sense for them being the Shadow versions and stuff like that. So this video is very long, and the video is already really long as it is. Like, I think I'm an hour and 14 minutes in, so I'll probably have to look that into my own time a little bit and see what they've said. Yeah, I'm really satisfied with that last theory. I was about to say, I really hope that the dream theory, we weren't going to go there, because I feel like that's just a load of just like a cop-out. And I don't like the cop-out ending. You know, oh, I woke up and it was just a dream. So this one fits a little bit more. I didn't know if that was gonna be the last video of it just being all a dream. Like, I really hope not. So that makes it interesting. I gotta read the books at that point then. So at some point I'm gonna buy the books. Probably when I come back from my trip here in a week or so. So yeah, I want to pre-record a bunch of videos before I left. So that's what this is all about. But damn, man, this was a crazy hour. This video went by so quick, these videos did, that I didn't even feel like this was like almost an hour and a half already. But yeah, FNAF 4 wraps up here. Wow. Interesting ride, because this is the game that I've been so scared of for the last few years, and it's crazy that I even got to this point, because I just never thought myself doing this. Inner middle schooler and me, when I first saw this game come out, it scared me so fucking bad that I haven't played it over a few years. It's so fucking happy I did that. Everything all makes sense. I don't even want to try to summarize what just happened there, but because there was just so much, but that whole timeline just makes sense to me. Obviously, there was probably some changes throughout the whole next few, and now that we're going to be going into Sister Location, which is going to be interesting. So stick around if you want to see Sister Location. Me finish that game. I don't know really much about that game, so I don't know what I'm technically finishing. I got left on night 4 stuck. So if you guys love the video, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to go check out Game Theory's video in the description, and because he's the shit. And hell yeah, without further ado, that's my intro. Peace.
Ain't no simpin', just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin', just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin', just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin', I'm just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin', just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin', just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin', just pimp chimpin'. Ain't no simpin'.